Good morning, friends. My name is Jennifer. Welcome into my home and into my kitchen here at All Things Kitchen. Today is a Sunday morning. Well, it's 11:30. It's still morning though, technically. And I am having a cup of tea. And yes, this is a Christmas mug, even though it's July. It's the favorite shape of mug that I like. So, good morning. Today, I am going to be making some mini pot pies. It's been an idea that I've had in my head for a while, and recently I bought some little mini pie pans, mini, like that size. And after I bought them, then I found that I already had bought some previously, and I found them in my pantry. So that is why I had my pantry organized, because so I wouldn't do things like that again, buy things that I already had. But no problem. We're going to utilize what we have and make some mini pot pies that I can stick in the freezer and have one serving size of a pot pie. And I'm excited about it. I really like pot pies. So I'm going to gather all my ingredients. We're going to make some pie crust. I haven't even made a pie crust in a long time. So come along with me on this journey, and again, something new in my kitchen. And I hope we have fun today. I'm going to get all my ingredients together, get all my equipment together, and let's have some fun. Okay, so I think I have all my ingredients together here. I have flour. I need to grab my salt. There. I have flour, salt, butter, and then I'll get the water when I'm ready for it. So I am going to make an amount that I am not sure. We're just going to work it. Okay. We're just going to work with the recipe that I have. And then if I feel like I need more dough, I may go ahead and make 2 batches of this anyway. And if I don't need it, then I can have it in my freezer for the next time that I want to make a pie or a pot pie or need pie dough. So I am doubling this recipe that I have right now because this is a single layer recipe. So if I wanted to make a double layer, I'm going to double it. These are the little mini pie pans that I have, and so we'll see how far the dough goes. I'm going to start off with 2.5 cups of flour. So I'm just fluffing my flour. I keep a spoon in my flour container so that anytime I go to use flour, I fluff it first. And this last bag of flour that I put in here, it's really lumpy. I'm going to use the food processor, so that will break up any lumps. But if I wasn't doing that, I would definitely sift this. So I am just using, I also use my spoon to measure, to put the flour into the measuring cup. This is a 2-cup measuring cup. I'm kind of doing this backwards, wrong hand. I'm right-handed, so let me flip that around. And then I'm just going to level it. Can you see what I'm doing? A little bit, you can, yeah. So 2 and then 1/2 cup. So you spoon your flour into your measuring cup and then you level it. That is the best way to get an accurate amount with measuring cups. You want to make sure that it's not compacted in there. And the best way is if you have measurements. That way you're a little bit more exact. So a half a teaspoon of salt. And then I'm going to put in here. And then I'm going to pulse this a little bit just to kind of break up those lumps like I mentioned before. I'm just going to pulse this. And that breaks up those dough or the flour lumps and mixes the salt in with it. Now I have 2 sticks of butter, and this is butter out of the refrigerator, so it's nice and cold. And I'm just going to cube this up a little bit before I put it in the food processor, just to kind of help it a little bit so that it does not have to grind as much in the food processor and warm up the butter. We want the butter to stay cold. And again, we're going to pulse this. Now you can see that butter is broken up in there and is like little pea size. There's a little piece of butter right there, and it just kind of looks like sand. When you put your fingers in there, you can feel the butter bits. And that's what you want. You want the butter kind of broken up in there. You could grate your butter into the dough. That could be another way if you don't have a food processor. Or you can use your fingers and just kind of rub the butter into the flour. Or if you have a pastry cutter, you can do that. So even just a fork, mashing the fork into the flour inside a bowl. There are many different ways that you can do this if you don't have the convenience of a food processor. I do, so I'm using it. This will now call for about a half a cup of ice cold water. But if you know anything about flour, you know that you cannot go just according to measurements. You need to go by the look and feel of it. So we're going to start with 1/4 of a cup, and then we'll probably add a teaspoon at a time until it gets to the consistency that I feel is about right, to where I can put it out on the counter and then wrap it up in plastic wrap to put in the refrigerator and let that sit for a little bit. But I'm going to get the ice water. This is a 2 tablespoon measuring cup, if you will. So I'm going to use this to put the water in so that I can have a little bit more control. Four tablespoons is 1/4 of a cup. So you want to keep an eye on it from here. There we go. See how it's turning into a ball? That was definitely not a half a cup. And that's hopefully not more than what we needed. Actually, it was. I'm going to have to add more flour into here. This is a Parmesan cheese or red pepper flake shaker. I use this, I put flour in here, and this is what I use to shake my flour out on the countertop whenever I need to put dough out on the countertop. Obviously, you can just use your hands for something like that. Not trying to be fancy, it's just something that I had and that I use. So I'm going to dump that out. Be careful of the blade. Set that aside. I just want to incorporate all these crumbs into here. I don't want to handle it too much because my hands are warm. I'm just going to put it into a round. I'm going to grab some plastic wrap right behind me. I'm going to wrap this up. We want it to be sealed when we put it in the refrigerator. And so we can chill it. There's our first round of dough. I think while I have all the equipment out, I am going to go ahead and make a second batch of dough so that even if I don't need it, like I said, I've got some in the freezer for future use. I might as well, since I have a mess right here. So let's go. I'm going to go ahead and do that and then clean up my mess. And then what we'll do is go ahead and start the pot pie filling while that's chilling in the refrigerator. And so we can get that part done. I am kind of doing, maybe it's considered a cheat, but I'm going to start with my chicken soup base. And this is one of the reasons why I make that chicken soup base, not only to have chicken soup when I want it, but for my pot pies, as well as a couple of other recipes, because it's simply just chicken, carrots, and onions. And then I can add potatoes and peas. And, you know, if I'm having chicken soup, I could add noodles to it. But it just makes it nice and simple. And if I need to add more chicken, I'll use a jar of canned chicken. And we'll see how much we need. And we'll kind of use my cheat method, use my previous efforts of work to go to work today. I'll be back when I have the second round done and in the refrigerator and this mess cleaned up. Unless you wanted to clean it for me. No? Okay. I'll be right back. I'm back. My mess is cleaned up. I did go ahead and sift a whole bunch of my flour in my flour container because those lumps were just huge. It felt like it was full of moisture. And after sifting it, it's nice and fluffy and soft now. So that's what we want. Nice, light, airy flour and not big lumps like what I had. So added a little extra chore in there, but I've got my counter all ready to roll out the dough when that is ready. And we are going to start on the pot pie filling. So the first thing that we're going to do is make a roux. My chicken-based soup here, and then I have an extra jar of chicken just in case I need it. I have 2 jars of potatoes. I will probably have to cut these down into a little bit smaller sizes since these mini pot pies, obviously 1 potato piece. Let's see if you can see. They're like a 1/2 inch cubes type thing, and that's just too big for that little mini. So when I take those out, I will drain that off and cut those up a little bit. I've got the peas in the freezer, and if I think that'll be good. If I need more broth, I do have broth in the refrigerator as well. So we're all set. Let's get started. Okay, so I have some brown butter here. I'm going to, let me turn that down a little bit. I was busy with those potatoes. And I'm just going to add about 2 tablespoons of flour. Didn't mean to brown that butter, but it'll just add flavor. If I need to add a little bit more roux later, I can do that. I'm going to go ahead and add my chicken soup base. Oh, smells good already. I'll break up that chicken because some of those chicken pieces are a little bigger than I want. And I can see I definitely am going to need more chicken. So I'm going to go ahead and open that jar. Add some chicken, and this is in its own broth. And I'm going to add in these potatoes. Now keep in mind, obviously I'm using my home canned food, but you could roast a chicken to do this. You could buy a rotisserie chicken. You could bake up some chicken breast and or thighs. You don't obviously have to use home canned products to do this. This is just my quick and easy way to do it and to use the products that I have on my shelf already. Now, I do not salt my food when I put them in the jars, hardly ever. So I know that chicken base does not have salt. My chicken does not have salt. My potatoes do not have salt. So I'm going to add some salt at this point. And some pepper as well. I do generally add pepper like when I cook, but I'm going to add some more in there. I could have used the white pepper, but that's fine. Looks like I could use some more carrots too, but I don't have any canned carrots or cooked carrots, so we'll have to deal with what we have unless I want to take the time. Oh, I still have more potatoes over here. Add the rest of those potatoes in there, and I'm going to get some peas. Now I'm trying not to break up these potatoes too much because I do want potato chunks in there, and those potatoes are already cooked, so I want to be careful with that. But having a little bit of broken up potato will just help thicken it as well. Now I'm not giving measurements on this pot pie ingredients because I'm just eyeballing it. I don't have any measurements for you, I'm sorry. Because I'm using mostly prepared food. It might have been too many peas. Well, we're going to be pot pie pea forward. Nice, delicious vegetables. And I think I'm going to need some more broth in there as well. Okay, so I've added a little over a cup of broth. So we're just going to let that cook, come up to temperature a little bit so I can give it a taste, see if it needs anything, and then we will roll out, see if it needs to be thickened up anymore. I can put some more, make a little flour and butter roux again, or maybe a little cornstarch slurry. But not looking too shabby, huh? I wish it had more carrots in it. Maybe while I'm waiting that to come up, I can cook a couple of carrots in the microwave. Okay. I decided to put carrots in the microwave, so I am pre-cooking some carrots to put in the pot pie, because if I'm going through the trouble of trying to make delicious homemade pot pie, I might as well have it the way that I want it. So it was no big deal cleaning up a couple of carrots, chopping them up, putting them in the microwave, and cooking them mostly that way. So right now it's just pretty much a waiting game. I'm going to get the carrots in here. I'm going to make sure that they're cooked, get the carrots in with the pot pie. I'm letting the dough chill in the refrigerator, and I want that to be perfectly chilled. So I'm going to give that a few hours. And this sitting, once it's all together, is not going to hurt anything. And actually, I will want it to kind of come down in temperature a little bit before I put it into my pie crust, because from the pie crust, I'm going to put it into the freezer. Depending on how many mini pot pies we get out of it, if I still have filling left over, then I'll go ahead and make a regular size pot pie, and we'll probably have that for dinner. So we'll see how many mini ones we get. So we're just waiting. I've got everything all cleaned up, all my dishes washed, and just playing the waiting game right now. I'll bring you back. Oh, I did want to tell you, after my ginger preservation that I did, I have decided in the future I'm not going to make those pucks. It really works out better for me, for my purposes, to have it in just the minced form rather than pre-measured out, because I do put them in little tea bags so that I don't have to worry about straining the tea. And I can fit more in this tea bag if it's not already in those puck sizes, if it's just loose. So just a little tip, a little something that I have found out by using it, and I wanted to share with you, depending on how you use it. If you know that you want a teaspoon of ginger every time, go ahead and, put it in the pucks. Or somebody mentioned like putting it in an ice cube tray, which would be really easy way to do that as well. And, but I wanted to share what I have learned by using it and making my tea with it. For my purposes, it would be better just in the loose minced form that I can grab as much as I want to put in that tea bag. So see you back in just a second your time. So much better. That looks so much better. Does need to thicken up a little bit more, but the chicken to potato to carrot and pea ratio is what I want. It has now been a few hours since we made the pie dough, and so I have got everything ready to roll out the dough and try to make the crust for the pot pie. Now, like I said at the beginning of this, it's been quite a while since I've made a pie dough, and so even when I was really baking a lot, I didn't do a lot of pies. I did mostly different types of cakes, cupcakes, things like that. I did make some pie, but not enough to where I really got good at the pies. So we're just going to work with my knowledge, and if you'll bear with me, I turn down the air so that my house is a little bit cooler, so that the pie crust stays a little bit cooler. I just took it out of the refrigerator, so we're going to see if we can work with it right now. If I need to let it come up to temperature just a little bit, I'll give it about 5 or so minutes, but hopefully we'll do what we can, right? I'm just a home cook. I'm not a baker. I'm not a chef. I'm not an expert. I'm just a home cook, sharing what I know with you. And sometimes that just means following recipes. So come along with me on this journey. So I don't do a whole lot of work on this countertop just because it's kind of at a weird angle here. But I need this room in order to be able to roll out some dough here. So, and like I said, I just got this out of the refrigerator. I'm going to go ahead and just work with half of this since we're doing mini pies anyway. And I'm going to put this back in the refrigerator. Okay, so I have a cookie sheet lined with parchment paper. I don't know that the parchment paper was really necessary because this is just for the freezer, but I was trying to figure out how to cut this out for this size, and this glass bowl is pretty close, although I may try, let's try a couple different things. So I'm going to cut out around here, just using this bowl as a guide and my knife to cut. And we're going to put this and see if that will fit. And that's kind of what I was afraid of, using something just that size. I mean, it fits in there nice if I was making just a tart, but I'm not making a tart, so I need something bigger than that. Maybe I'll use this for the top pieces. Even that's not really big enough for that. I can still use this as a guide, but just go bigger. And save your scrap pieces. Let's see here. And we'll just put this inside this little tart pan. And what I may do is go ahead and make a couple of the bottom crust before I put the filling in, and make a couple of the tops, and then we'll fill and put them in the freezer. So there's one, and that, let's see, we'll roll this back out. Dough's trying to stick already. I do have my house. It's chilly for Florida, but it's still, it's like, I think I have it set at like 74 right now, so it's still, if you're not a Floridian, you're probably going, that's not chilly. Or maybe if you are a Floridian, maybe you keep your house colder. All right, so another pan here. I do have the crust probably about 1/4 of an inch thick. I probably could go a little bit thinner, but you do how you like your pot pie crust. So I got 2 done. I'm going to put that in the freezer, so, or at least the refrigerator, so it gets nice and cold. I'm going to get out the other half here. And I've got this little bit of dough left. Set that to the side for a moment. And I'm just using this dough to fill in the cracks here. That'll work. We'll get a top. There's one. And let's see if we can, I think we can finagle another one out. And since I only have 2, I'm going to go ahead and set this dough off to the side and back in the refrigerator. Okay, so I have my pot pie filling. This is like the moment of truth, right? This is truly a personal size pot pie. Okay, so I've got my top piece that I'm going to put on there, and I'm going to fold that over, or under, I should say. There's a little crack right there, but that's okay because I was going to put slits in it anyway. This is pretty thick with both of these, but I will... Actually, let's do this first. We'll kind of smush them together. All right, I'm just going to trim off some. I can feel with my fingertips where the edge of the pan is, and I'm going to leave myself a little bit of room, but I don't need a whole bunch. You could use a knife for this. I just grabbed scissors. And I'm still going to go back around and fold that under and make a nice pie crimp on that. Do like this. And this is the first time I've made a little mini pie of any sort, whether it be savory or sweet. So I appreciate you guys coming along on the journey with me. Okay. Okay, it's not the prettiest thing I've ever done, but that was the first one. I just put those scraps in the refrigerator so we can use them the next one. Okay, so same thing. I'm going to give this a crimp, a smush to kind of get the dough sealed, if you will. So there's one, and there's the other one. I'm going to get those in the freezer. So 2 down, and we'll see how many more we get. So hopefully the more I do, the better they'll look. I don't think they're ugly. They're just not something probably somebody would buy in a store. But I tasted the filling, which, by the way, I did adjust the seasonings. I added some more salt and pepper and some onion powder and garlic powder to my pot pie filling. So I'm going to get these in the freezer. I'll be right back. I just took my regular size pot pie out of the oven, and I did end up using, I had one store-bought crust, and I had to use that for the top, and it kind of fallen apart on me. So we'll just say that was an intentional design that I made on there. So I have the regular size pot pie done, and I was able to get 6 mini pot pies out of the pie crust that I made. Some of them look better than others. When it came down to the last 1 or 2, I was kind of working with scraps, and the house was warm and the dough was getting hard to work with. So qualifier on those when I show you what they look like. Most of them look okay though. And so probably what I'm going to do is use my vacuum sealer and individually wrap each one. And let me grab them out of the freezer so I can show you. So full transparency, here are all 6 that I did, and you can see a couple of them are not the best looking. This one was getting pretty sad, and no real design on that one whatsoever. And then this one right here kind of leaked through. But this was a first attempt, and I'm happy with it. Like I said earlier, it's not like I'm selling these or anything, so nothing has to be perfect. I think it turned out pretty good. They're solid. Oop, my dog's at my feet. It's thundering outside. I appreciate you coming along on another kitchen journey, another kitchen first with me of making mini pot pies. I will get those packaged up, wrap them individually using my vacuum sealer, and they will be ready to cook. I'll pop them back into the tin. I'm going to see if I can take them out of the tin to freeze them, and then I'll put them back in the tin to cook them. Obviously, we want them to keep that shape when I cook them. So I'm guessing that would probably take, from frozen, probably a good hour, even though it's a mini, somewhere between 45 minutes, my puppy, 45 minutes to an hour. And we'll see how that goes. I don't plan on cooking one of those anytime soon, since I just cooked the big one, which at least you got to see that. But I'm interested in seeing what else I can do. Something like that. Maybe making some mini sweet pies. And I'll bring you along for that. So again, I appreciate you coming along with me today. I appreciate your time and your patience with me trying all these new things. And I hope to see you again. Leave a comment down below if maybe there's something that you would like to see me make. And since I'm doing all these new things, if it's something I've never done before, I'd be happy to try to find a recipe. And if it's something I've done before, I'll gladly do it again. I look forward to seeing your comments, and I look forward to seeing you again. I hope you have a great day. I hope you have a great week. Take care.